Okay, here we are. Our goal is La Madre Mountain and El Padre Mountain. We're going to try a circuit and take in both of them. We've done this before, or we've attempted this before. We're at the intersection, near the intersection of Kyle Canyon Road and Harris Springs Road, outside of Las Vegas. And you'll notice that we're starting, this first video is in the Beast. And the reason we're starting in the Beast is that I'm not sure that you'd be able to hear what I'm saying if I were standing outside at the moment, because the big theme of today is going to be navigating in strong winds. The wind gusts are expected in Las Vegas to be in the area of up to 31 miles an hour. There have been gusts up to 50 miles an hour in Las Vegas in the past week. And I'm expecting that up on La Madre Mountain, we may be hitting 50-mile-an-hour gusts. So we're going to, as we take off up Harris Springs Road and then connect with a small four-wheel drive road that takes us up to La Madre Mountain, the base of La Madre Mountain, and then it's going to be wilderness navigation up to the top of the mountain. We're going to be encountering very strong winds, especially up on the cliffs that you see ahead of us here. And so we're going to talk about navigating in the wind. There are some amazing benefits of being out there in the wind. It's an incredible feeling. I'll talk a little bit about that. And also there's some cautions when you're navigating in the wind, and I'll share some stories about being blown off my feet in the past. So this is going to be a really amazing day as we navigate high wilderness up to around 8,000 feet on those cliffs in strong winds up to 50-mile-an-hour gusts. So this is gonna be a lot of fun today. So let's go ahead and get started. Here's a great shot of the sun rising just to the right of Gas Peak. Gas Peak is that high point to the left of the rising sun. The wind is not too strong right at the moment, but it is picking up. Here's a 360-degree view. Here's our first goal, La Madre Mountain. We're on Harris Springs Road, off of Kyle Canyon Road, and heading up. Another couple miles till we hit the four-wheel drive road. That four-wheel drive road will take us up to the base of La Madre Mountain. Then we go into the wilderness. Okay, sunrise again, and just at the very moment of sunrise, how beautiful it is. Okay, we got to get going. We are at the first waypoint. We are at the very point where Harris Springs Road splits off with, or I should say this four-wheel drive road splits off from Harris Springs Road. And we're going to take the four-wheel drive road now. It's going to go around this ridge and then head straight up toward the base of La Madre Mountain. So, and just to get a quick 360-degree view. There you see Harris Mountain, and behind it is Griffith Peak. Not visible today. And here is Charleston Peak, and you can see from the difference between today and the last time we took a video and picture of this location. Snow has melted substantially. And here you see Fletcher Peak, and to the right, Mummy Mountain. And you can see a lot of difference in terms of the lack of snow on these peaks. The only problem here, it looks like they're opening up, and I need to begin practicing for the 6-peak circuit that I plan to do in early July during the longest days of the year, which begins with the South Trail climb, heads up to Harris Mountain, over to Griffith Peak. That's the 2nd peak, and then Charleston Peak, the 3rd peak. Lee Peak will be the 4th peak. Mummy Mountain, the 5th peak, and Fletcher Mountain, the 6th peak. I'm going to try to do that, well, in a space of maybe around 20 hours. We'll see how that turns out, but I need to be scoping out some of those wilderness routes, like the wilderness route between the South Climb and Harris Mountain, and the wilderness route between Mummy Mountain and Fletcher Peak, going down the east side of Mummy Mountain and then over to Fletcher Peak. I've done those routes in the opposite direction, but everything looks different when you turn around. So I want to be scoping those out, and I could be doing that today, except the Forest Service areas are still closed due to COVID-19. I hope they open up soon enough that I can scope out these areas, the wilderness areas, before early July. It'll probably take 3 or 4 trips up in those areas to really scope them out so that I can cover that distance the quickest possible way when I'm trying to get in 6 peaks in one run. So anyway, that's a little preview of what's coming up this summer. So for today, though, La Madre Mountain and El Padre Mountain, and we're heading up the 4-wheel drive road here toward the base of La Madre Mountain. Here we go. Okay, it's been about an hour and 50 minutes, and we've reached a waypoint. We've ascended, by the way, 1,200 feet so far. And here is the entrance, the official entrance of La Madre Mountains Wilderness area. So that's our next waypoint here. We're going to go a little higher, and we'll take a look at the circuit and how that circuit looks. Okay, here we go. By the way, just to the right of the sign, you can see La Madre Mountain, and that's the Devil's Slide, that area that looks like cement. It's pretty smooth, beautiful, beautiful section of rock. But beyond the Devil's Slide and that high point there, just to the right of that high point is a high point we attained a few weeks ago. But then to the left is the summit of the Devil's Slide, and then beyond that, you can't see it, is the summit of La Madre Mountain. So that gives you an idea where we are headed. Okay, let's get going and get there. Okay, this is a great place to look at the entire route that we're going to take, the circuit route. That's going to encompass La Madre, El Padre, and then another high point and back down. We are at the turnaround at the very summit of the four-wheel drive road. And this is where we're going to enter the wilderness. But let's first of all take a look at the surroundings here. Okay, you see ahead of us, right in the center, there is that peak, is actually the peak before the summit of the Devil's Slide. And we have attained that area, that level before. We need to go beyond that to the summit of the Devil's Slide, and then the summit of La Madre Mountain. Okay, here is El Padre Mountain. And then here is another high point. Okay, now let's take a look at the circuit route we're going to take if everything works out well. Okay, you see right in front of us there is a ridge. Okay, we're going to descend into the canyon at the base of this ridge and then up to the top of this ridge. Then we're going to take this ridge up and around up to this point. There's a high point, little saddle beyond it, and then up to that very high point up there. Nope, even beyond that. Up to this high point. Yes. So we're just going to circle around that ridge. Once we get to this high point, we're going to continue behind it to the summit of the Devil's Slide. That's probably another 300 feet or so. And then up to the summit of La Madre Mountain, another 300 to 500 feet beyond that. So when we hit that high point, we've got, maybe 600 to 800 feet to get to the summit of La Madre Mountain. Okay, then we're going to head down La Madre Mountain. And you see a saddle right in this area right there. We're going to head down to that saddle, and then and by the way, that saddle, that's the very point that if you go to LasVegasAreaTrails.com and the southern approach to La Madre Mountain, you'll see that saddle rises up from or descends from here. It descends into Calico Basin, and quite a little challenging climb. I've gotten close to the top of that saddle from Calico Basin. I have yet to actually attain the saddle itself. Anyway, we're going to go beyond that saddle and up to the summit of El Padre Mountain. And this is assuming a whole lot of things work in our favor and we don't hit any barriers. There's a lot of rugged terrain up there, and we'll see it firsthand. Then we're going to head around behind, along the top of El Padre Mountain, behind this ridge that you see, and reach this summit. And I don't know what it's called, but anyway, we'll reach that summit and then head down the ridge right in front of that summit and down, down, down right to this point, and hopefully we'll hit this road. We missed it last time. We were up at this summit up here. We missed this road. We headed off down into this area, into these canyons, and had to navigate our way back up to the road. It wasn't impossible, but it was definitely knocked us off about half hour, 45 minutes. Okay, anyway, we're going to end up back at this point and then run down the road back to the intersection of Kyle Canyon Road and Harris Springs Road. It should take about an hour once we reach this point. And it took, approximately 2 hours to get up, hour to get down from this point. And I can't vouch for how much time we'll be spending up on the ridges up there. It's still, I mentioned that it was going to be a very windy day. We're still in that, well, we're in a canyon for one thing. It's fairly quiet, although there's a good breeze that picks up now and then. I'm predicting that, right now it's about 7:30, so it is still fairly early, and it's that time in the early morning that the wind is most quiet. I'm expecting when we hit those ridges up there that it gets to be about 11 o'clock, that's where we're going to experience the wind picking up everywhere, and then on those ridges it should be very just dramatically strong. Up to 50-mile-an-hour gusts potentially. We'll see. Okay, so that gives you an idea the circuit we're taking, and then just to go ahead and take a look at the surroundings, the larger surroundings here. You can see, let's take a look. Harris Mountain, I believe, is the high point up here. And beyond that, you can't see it, is Griffith Peak. And then, wow, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't seen it from this perspective before and really been able to pick it out. We'll be able to pick it out when we get higher. But, boy. Anyway, okay. No. Now I know where I am. Okay, that's Harris Ridge. Okay, Harris Ridge, and then Harris Mountain. There's Harris Mountain. And then you've got the saddle that goes up. Yeah, Harris Mountain, right there, that green spot. Yeah, that is Harris Mountain, right in the center. Finally nailed it. Okay, and you've got the saddle. If you look at the Lovell Canyon page on LasVegasAreaTrails.com, you can see the saddle between Harris Mountain and Griffith Peak right here. And, that saddle is right at the top of Lovell Canyon. Very beautiful canyon. And then circling around, you see the very tip of Mount Charleston, or Charleston Peak. And then to the right of Charleston Peak, there is Lee Peak. And then circling around, sorry about that. Circling around, okay, Lee Peak again. Let's go ahead and nail that. Okay, yeah, Charleston Peak, Lee Peak. Circling around, there's Mummy Mountain, that high point. And then in front of it, you see what looks like a green hill. That's a forested hill, and actually it's 10,300 feet. It is Fletcher Peak. Okay, so there is, gives you an idea of our surroundings, and then looking back down the four-wheel drive road we just ascended. And by the way, Mount Charleston Observatory. Let's see if there's anything else here. Yes. There's the sheep range. And I'm not sure I'm seeing Gas Peak from this perspective, so I think Gas Peak is behind that ridge in the foreground. So we'll see all that when we ascend higher. We've got about around 2,000 feet to ascend. We've run about 8 miles up this road so far, ascended 1,500 feet. So 2,000 feet more to ascend to get to the summit of La Madre Mountain. And then we go along the top there, that circuit that I mentioned a moment ago, and then back down to this point, if everything works out as we hope. Okay, here we go. Okay, and one more note, how to get from the summit of this four-wheel drive road across to the ridge over there. There is a kind of a trail, and you just go to the edge of this circle, and it's not marked, but as you can see, there is a little trail. And this is going to take us down to the canyon at the base of this ridge over here. And then we will ascend. We'll leave anything that looks like a trail. We'll ascend that ridge and then go along the top of the ridge, circle around up to this high point. Okay, let's go for it. Okay, I'm going to try to give you wilderness directions here. That little trail, it went maybe 1,500 feet or so, and it ended here in this canyon. So now you go up the canyon just a little bit, just about 25 feet. And then at this tree, it may not have the yellow markers on it, but it is a definite turn to the left. So you take a left, and that's going to take you down further into the base of the canyon, and then just head up that opposite ridge. Okay, we'll take a look at, well, let's just go ahead and do this together. So here we go along, and let's go this way. Looks like it's a little bit more of a traveled path. Ah, yes, this is exactly where we wanted to be. And then you can see there's a dip here. You ascend into the true base of the canyon. So here we go. Yes, that wasn't too hard. And now the whole thing is, yeah, you could go up this canyon. I've done that before. It gets pretty dicey. So I like to just navigate around and up the ridge right here, because I've always found that ridge tops are much easier to navigate than canyon washes. And every time I've been in a canyon wash and I look at the ridge tops around me, I'm thinking, I wish I was up on those ridge tops. Better view, easier navigation. You just have to navigate around these trees, but as you can see, there's enough area around the trees that you can navigate. Just go as straight up this ridge as you can till you get to the top. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this ridge is not too difficult to navigate. There's enough space between the plant life here that I have scarcely touched a branch. This is actually an avalanche slope with some shrubs on it and very easy. I always look at the sunspots and think, you know, if I were a rattlesnake, I would be sunning myself off in the morning in one of those sunspots because they're cold-blooded and they need to warm up in the sun before they begin their day. But they're mostly out at night and they will hear you way before you hear them. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. You think of rattlesnakes and you think, oh my gosh, you're in the wilderness, you're going to encounter rattlesnakes. I have been doing these wilderness wanderings for about 3 years in the Nevada area now. Have not seen one rattlesnake, one mountain lion, and so, you know, I think that all the animal life, both rattlesnakes and mountain lions, are actually much more shy than we are. And they're going to take off before you even get close enough to see them. But it's always good to watch where you're going because you don't want to surprise anything. And that's where, if there were ever a problem, it would occur because you surprised something. And it's afraid of you, and it gets into fight, flight, brain, and hopefully it chooses flight. But if it chooses fight, that's where problems occur. But you know, I imagine I could be 10 years longer in this wilderness area and never see anything that's dangerous. But who knows? Today could be the day. Now, here we are. We're summiting that ridge. And so let's just take a look around, see where we are, get a much better view of the surroundings. Yes, beautiful viewpoint. So let's just do a quick view. There is the sheep range. And then now, you see why we couldn't see Gas Peak earlier. There's Gas Peak. It was behind this ridge. Okay, and where's our route? Now we're at the top of the ridge, so that's really nice. And you can see how it's wide open. You know, how much better is it to be on a ridge like this than down in a wash, a canyon wash. So we're going to continue along. You can see where the ridge continues to ascend. It circles around to this high point and then heads on up to this high point. We've stood on that before and looked right down on the Devil's Slide. Beautiful view. We'll see that today. I know we'll get at least that far. And then we'll continue on up. If everything works well, all the stars are aligned, we will continue on up to the summit of La Madre Mountain, which is the summit of Devil's Slide is the next high point that you can't see because that high point in the foreground is in the way. So there's the Devil's Slide summit and then La Madre Mountain summit. And then we'll head down and up to El Padre Mountain. And if everything's working well, we will be walking along the top of El Padre Mountain. And then encountering some up and down and little cliff ridges that we need to navigate all around the place. And we want to get up to the summit of this high point. And then we head down this ridge. You see those rocky formations? That's the ridge we head down. And you see where the ridge goes down, down. Well, it's kind of hard to see because there's so many ridges in the foreground here. But it heads down to this area down there where the summit of the four-wheel drive road is, and we meet the summit of the four-wheel drive road. Hopefully we will meet that summit this time and not go off course, which is the, it's the advantage of testing out this area a number of times before we actually make the whole circuit. Okay, so let's see, what else do we see? Okay, looking up here, Harris Mountain. Over to the left, Griffith Peak. Around to Charleston Peak. And then around to Lee Peak. And Mummy Mountain, and in front of it, Fletcher Peak. And then here you have the Mount Charleston Observatory. And then you can see a road system down in the canyon there. That's where Upper Harris Springs Road meets Kyle Canyon Road, right about in this area. We took actually the Lower Harris Springs Road junction. And you can't see that junction from here, but you'll see it when we get higher. Okay, so and here's the ridge we're on. And you can see, very open. It's just a matter of navigating rocks, and there are just a few little, 6-foot high class 3 climbs between here and that high point up there. Not a whole lot, and so it's a great route. So here we go up the ridge system, and the wind is still very tame at this point. So and it's 8 o'clock. We're not looking at heavy winds yet. Okay, let's go. Well, we're only about 1,500 feet shy of the summit of La Madre Mountain, which is behind this high point. And there's El Padre Mountain, and here's the high point that we're going to use as our focus to descend a ridge from that high point to return after summiting La Madre and El Padre Mountain, provided that it all turns out well. And okay, I stopped here for a moment just to say, okay, how do you navigate this ridge? And I thought at one point, okay, I'm going to go lower and to the right. And you get into a lot of obstacles down there. And another time I went more to the left of the ridge and navigated, and you get into obstacles there too. So the only suggestion I can give at this point is just continue to weave around the brush. So far I have not had any brush encounters. Haven't had to bend one branch really. And you just keep weaving around. Like I'm going to head up this little rocky area and then continue on up, and you see there are some high points, and you go from one high point on the ridge to another high point and continue to weave your way along the top of the ridge, and you'll know you're on the top of the ridge because it heads down to the right and down to the left. And so it's pretty obvious when you're just navigating along the summit of the ridge. And there will be some rocky formations we need to climb over, but nothing really dramatic. So let's continue on. A little more ridge navigation here. I'm at one of the high points, and it looks like somebody's put a cairn up here. And you can see, looking back down the ridge, well, you can't see anything really. But that's the direction down the ridge. You can see a lot more going up. So I just need to navigate down this little rocky outcrop and then continue on the ridge over this area. And then you can see there's a high point in the center, and then on up, skirt around the right side of that rock formation in the center, and we're going to take a right. We're going to go up to this high point, and then little saddle, and then up to, this is the high point we've been looking at, and you can now see behind it the summit of the Devil's Slide. So a little more, a little better view of this route. And then of course, continuing on around. Wind is beginning to pick up a little bit, so I may need to be talking a little louder to be heard over the wind. It does weird things to the microphone on this phone. Okay, so descend a little bit down this rocky outcrop and then over to the ridge over there. And I guess if I'd circled around the right side, it would have been more, I wouldn't have had to navigate this little outcrop, but it's really not that much of a problem. Okay, onward. And by the way, you can now see the point where we began this trip. You look straight down into this area, you can see an unpaved road, and that's the end of Harris Springs Road, or the beginning of Harris Springs Road, depending on which direction you're going. And it empties into Kyle Canyon Road, and then a little to the left of that there is the parking area where the Beast is parked, right in the center there. So that's the distance that we have traveled so far today. Been trying to conserve energy because there's a long ways to go. Okay, so onward up this ridge and to the high point up there, then the summit of the Devil's Slide, and then summit of La Madre Mountain. And by the way, it's about 1,500 feet to the summit of La Madre Mountain from this point. Okay, onward. Okay, as we approach the high point of this ridge where it turns toward La Madre Mountain, I'm favoring the right side now because I need to be in this saddle that's in front of the Devil's Slide and then head up to, this is the high point we've been looking at, and now you can see the Devil's Slide and the summit of the Devil's Slide beyond this first high point. But what I want to do is skirt this area and connect with that saddle there rather than keep ascending the ridge and then descend into the saddle. So as you get close to the high point in the ridge, begin to favor the right side and shoot for the base of the saddle that then will lead you up to that high point to the right of the Devil's Slide. And then beyond the Devil's Slide, I don't know if you can actually see it. I think the summit of La Madre Mountain is hidden behind that. So what looks like it could be the summit of La Madre Mountain is actually the summit of the Devil's Slide. Okay, and just to give you a 360-degree view, and as we have ascended, we get up to this point, and it's a lot more difficult to stand and take photos and videos, simply because there's not a whole lot of stable ground to stand on. As you can see, this is what we're dealing with. We find a little level spot and take pictures just so you can get the whole story. Okay, so you can't see El Padre Mountain anymore, but you can see the summit we're going to shoot for after El Padre Mountain, and then head back down the ridge of that summit to the summit of the four-wheel drive road. So so far doing very well. It's about 9 o'clock, and we have only about 1,200 feet still to ascend, but we're closing in. Okay, onward. Okay, I'm starting up the other side of the saddle. We're looking back on the ridge that I just ascended, and I actually skirted around the left side of this final high point and on the ridge, and met the saddle just a bit above the dip in the saddle, and it was fairly easy going. Anyway, I'm starting up the saddle, and now the whole challenge is going to be there's a high point coming up, and then just kind of a bluff on top of midway up the saddle, and then there is that first high point below the summit of the Devil's Slide. So we're navigating up this ridge now. You saw it a little earlier. It's not too visible from where we're standing right now. The Devil's Slide is on the other side of these trees. You can barely see it between the trees, and then here's more of the La Madre Mountain upper area. So we're continuing on up and just going to navigate around, and I'm going to try navigating around the left side of this first bluff on the ridge up to the high point. So we'll see how things go. Here we go. Now this is where things start to get really interesting. As you can see, There's a band of wildflowers just in the middle of nowhere here on this cliff, and they have established a community that blooms every spring, and it's spring up here at this point. Memorial Day weekend, and down in Las Vegas. Next week, we're looking at temperatures that are going to be in the area of 105, 106 degrees. And so up here though, I would be surprised if it's above 60 degrees right now. And here we see the Devil's Slide coming into view. And let's see, I'm really not on a very secure spot, but okay, here you can see there's Centennial Hills down that way. So you're looking down on Centennial Hills, and then above Centennial Hills is Gas Peak. So Centennial Hills is at the north end of the Las Vegas Valley. We call it Southern Reno because the next stop after Centennial Hills in Las Vegas is actually Reno, going up 95. And here is the sheep range. And then let's see if I can manage a turn here without going down this avalanche slope more rapidly than I would like to do. Okay, here is the saddle and the summit of that ridge that we ascended, and you can see, going down to the left, that's the ridge that we ascended to get to this point. We are now about 1,000 feet shy of the summit of La Madre Mountain. So we still have a ways to go, but we have ascended, let's see, 2,500 feet so far. So we've made quite a bit of ascent from our starting point. Anyway, and there's the Mount Charleston Wilderness. We'll get better views as we ascend further. So we're going to just continue picking our way up this beautiful alpine area. I feel like I'm in Switzerland now, even though we're looking down on Las Vegas desert. So here we go. Okay, we're closing in on the high point that was just to the right of the summit of the Devil's Slide. There it is, right up in front of us. And the key to this ridge is to, on the way up to that high point, is to hang to the left side, because the center and the right side are very rocky and involve, just scrambling over rock formations, which you can do, ascending these rock formations, but it kind of slows you down, and I like to relax. I've already covered probably 10, 11 miles, 12 miles so far, and so I'm just using this ascent as a time to relax, take my time, and I don't feel like pulling myself over rock formations right now. So I'm looking for the path of least resistance and just taking it really slow, and as I ascend and recouping my energy for the final ascent to the summit of La Madre Mountain. So continuing on up. Oh, let's take a look around. Yes. How incredibly beautiful this area is. You see the different kinds of trees, pine, juniper mainly, but then there are a number of others that I cannot name since I'm not a botanist. And you can see straight down in the valley. This is Kyle Canyon. You can see the end of that straight line, which is the end of Harris Springs Road where it meets Kyle Canyon Road. Then you take a left and right to that parking area in the center where the beast is parked. So this is where we have come from, and like I said, we've covered 10 to 12 miles by this point. So and then yeah, you can look up the valley past the north end of Las Vegas and see where there's some sandy desert area that begins to emerge up there in the distance. So that's pretty much where we are. But you know how different and beautiful this landscape is. All these plants growing, you know, is doing their lives as we humans are navigating the worldwide pandemic of COVID-19 and all the things that we navigate. These plants are just quietly growing on this hillside. I guess in the winter they have a bit of a battle of their own, but it's amazing how there are parts of nature that just continue. They continue in spite of what's happening in the world around and provide a kind of stability to the environment. Very beautiful, and sometimes I just think when I'm down in the city going about my work, I'll just close my eyes and think there is a place like this. These plants are quietly growing, continuing their lives, and no matter what ups and downs I have in my own life, these plants continue to quietly grow and show their beauty year after year. Okay, let's continue up to the high point up there. And who knows what we need to circumvent on the way up. But we'll find out. Here we go. Broken out into the opening, and you can see the rock formation straight ahead, which was that high point in the ridge. There's kind of a bump, a bluff, and we're continuing on up the ridge. And then looking down here is the high point in the first ridge that we ascended before we then turned up toward La Madre Mountain, the Devil's Slide. And here you can see things opening up. We're about 700 feet below the summit of La Madre Mountain. So continuing to make good time. There's the tip of the Las Vegas Valley, Centennial Hills, and then Gas Peak. And then the Sheep Range, and you can see that valley between Gas Peak and the Sheep Range is it has a ridge system. It's called Fossil Ridge, and you're in the Desert National Wildlife Refuge down in that area and throughout the Sheep Range, named for bighorn sheep and preserving the species. Okay, and looking up the valley, up 95 if you continued on toward Reno. And here you can see the Mount Charleston Wilderness And there's Charleston Peak in better view, and then over this direction is Griffith Peak, the pointy peak. And Harris Mountain. Right, oh, let's see if we can nail it. It would be, well, just to the right of Griffith Peak. And then the valley between Griffith Peak and Harris Mountain is Lovell Canyon. So there you have more of a view of the area. And now, continuing on up, we reach a rather rocky area. So we're going to ascend these rocks. Maybe I'll try and go around the left side and angle on up. But either way, we'll get up there. Okay, onward. Well, if you've ever wondered what the Devil's Slide was made of, what causes it to shine in the sun and look like it's a snowfield even in the middle of the summer, this is what it's made of. It's just, it looks like granite, and I'm not a geologist or a botanist, so don't hold me to it, but I think it might be granite that I'm looking at. And okay, so we're continuing on up, and we'll see more of the area unfold as we reach the high point that we were at a few weeks ago, about a month ago. And there's the Sheep Range, and then just the tip of Gas Peak above Centennial Hills. There's Sheep Range. And then, as I mentioned, between the two, there's that valley that used to be an ocean. You can see fossils in that area. Right in the center of that valley is Fossil Ridge, and I have a page on Fossil Ridge where I show images of the fossils on LasVegasAreaTrails.com. So let's continue on up. We're reaching the, things are leveling off a little bit, so the toughest part is behind us, at least to the initial high point. And then, of course, we've got some real sections to navigate to get to the top of the Devil's Slide. Okay, onward. Okay, let's pause for a moment at the best view of the Devil's Slide. There it is. You definitely don't want to slide down that. And then you can see Centennial Hills beyond the mountains there in the foreground. And then there's mountains in the background, and those mountains include Gas Peak, Fossil Ridge, and the Sheep Range. And then up the valley, up the 95 corridor, I-95, and then continuing to circle around. Here's the high point we've been looking at most of the day. And let's go ahead and take a look at what's beyond here. So here is our route. We're going to continue along this area, circle around the backside of the Devil's Slide. Hopefully that is, you can navigate that area. We're going to find out. Never been there before. And then on up to the summit of Madre Mountain, which is beyond the Devil's Slide. You can't see it there. And then once we hit the summit of La Madre Mountain, provided all goes well, then we continue on down the valley and then up to El Padre Mountain. There's El Padre Mountain. Then along that ridge system, and a couple weeks ago we made, it was probably, you see there's two high points and a saddle between. We were in the saddle and reached a cliff dead end. So we're going to navigate around there and hopefully find our way to the summit of this high point. Once we reach that high point, then we know we can navigate back down to our to the end of the four-wheel drive road. I was going to say our starting point, but no, we still have about 8 miles to run after we hit the end of the four-wheel drive road. So this is exciting. It's a little beyond 10. Let's see, what time is it? 10:23, and we're already way up here. So we've got some time to navigate around and see if we can hit the summit of La Madre Mountain. At least we'll get a lot closer than we ever have before. And then we'll navigate around to El Padre, hopefully. But I'm going to take a break now, power up with some power bars, and just recoup my energy. Okay, so yeah, what a beautiful, beautiful view. And there is Centennial Hills area. Very clear due to less traffic from the 2020 COVID-19 world pandemic, social distancing, and cars are off the road. So everything that you're seeing is perhaps the clearest you're going to see in all the future. And okay, let's take a look down this way. And there's our starting point. You see that straight road, it tees out at Kyle Canyon Road, and then you go to the left, and the beast is parked right in that area. So you get an idea of how far we have come today. Okay, so feeling really good. That was a good rest, actually. Just taking it really slow up that last rise. And now I'm ready to tackle the final section. Here we go. Okay, here you see the summit of the Devil's Slide right in front of us. And then there's a saddle. And then there is La Madre Mountain summit. I don't know if I'm going to climb the rocks and go up to the top of that pinnacle, but at the least I'll be in the area there. We'll see. Okay, so as we look around, here's the area that goes over to El Padre Mountain. Then we're looking at the top of the Keystone Thrust. And hopefully we can get over to this height, and then it's an easy downhill. But I'm not sure. That's this area here. This ridge system is pretty broken up. So there are a few places that are dead ends, or could be dead ends. And let's see what else we can see from right up here. There's the last location where we rested a bit. Let's look around a little bit more. Yeah, maybe I'll head up the Devil's Slide. I don't know. This is all unfamiliar ground to me, so I may want to return and tackle some of these places. But anyway, look at this. There's the Mount Charleston Wilderness, and there is Harris Mountain, that two-tone mountain with the brown and then the trees on the north side. And there's Griffith Peak. And then the south ridge of Kyle Canyon over to Charleston Peak. And then just to the right of Charleston Peak, Lee Peak, Mummy Mountain, and then in front of Mummy Mountain is Fletcher Peak. And there you can see the summit area of Kyle Canyon. We are just about right at the top of the Devil's Slide, and all around from the Charleston Wilderness you can see the Devil's Slide, and I've got photos of the slide. And down in this direction we're looking at the Keystone Thrust, which is this entire ridge system here that El Padre Mountain, which again is here, and La Madre Mountain, which is over here, sits on the Keystone Thrust ridge system. And on the other side there are cliffs that plunge about 2,000 to 3,000 feet. So it's that cliff system you see at the back side of Red Rock Park. And we're looking at the opposite side of the cliff system. And by the way, that location, that if on the southern approach to La Madre Mountain, we just about made this opening here, and may take a closer look today if we can navigate there. I want to look down that opening, see how close we were. We were within just a few hundred feet, maybe 200 feet of the top of that opening, coming up from Calico Basin. Okay, so there you have it. And definitely we are up here. Heights like this are not my favorite. They tend to give me the chills, but on the other hand, very, very beautiful. So kind of a love-hate relationship with heights. Okay. And there on the other side of the Keystone Thrust, you can see a few high peaks. And we'll look at those if we are successful in circling around the top there. We'll look at those a little later. In the meantime, there's our view. We're not on a real secure spot, but it's decent. Okay. Just give you more of the view all around in this area. So you can see possible approaches to these ridges and heights. Okay, continuing on toward La Madre Mountain. Don't know exactly how high we'll get up there, but we'll take a look and see what things look like. Well, it looks like we made the summit of the Devil's Slide after all. Here is the summit, and let's take a look down the Devil's Slide. So, okay, let's get around this corner. Oops. Trying to hold on to my hiking sticks at the same time I'm manipulating the camera. Okay, as you can see, this is a little rocky here. So, here we go. Okay. And, yes. There's La Madre Mountain Summit. So now we're between Devil's Slide and La Madre Mountain Summit. Okay, now let's take a look down Devil's Slide. Okay, where's a good view without heading over the edge? Well, I want to see down Devil's Slide. Let me put these hiking sticks down. Let's see if we can get out here on a secure spot. Okay, reaching over the edge here. This is where, like I said, you don't want to slide down Devil's Slide. And so we're going to stay a healthy distance from the edge here. Wind is starting to kick up also. So there's Devil's Slide. Straight down Devil's Slide. There's an even better view of Centennial Hills. And up toward There's no place to stand here. Up toward La Madre Mountain summit. And I don't know if I feel like climbing that rock. I may circle around a little beneath the summit and see if there's a better route up the other side. This looks just a little too exposed for my comfort. But here we are. Another great view of the area. Devil's Slide. Well, I am a bit beyond my comfort zone here. There is the summit of La Madre Mountain. Right up ahead, about 100 feet higher than where I am sitting on this precarious ledge. As you can see, all around. There's the summit of the Devil's Slide. Now, there's a chance actually that I could descend down the left side here and then ascend up to the summit over there. Maybe I'll try that. It looks doable with minimal exposure. I just need to get down this little ledge that I'm sitting on. But as you can see, yeah, I can't turn. But Centennial Hills, Gas Peak, Sheep Range, and let's turn around the other direction. And yeah, there's El Padre Mountain, the Keystone Thrust. You can see the top of that ridge system there. There's Mount Charleston Wilderness. So there you see the perspective where we are. And of course, cliffs all around, and I am not a rock climber. So I'm going to descend right down this way and see if I can ascend up to the summit just along the left side of La Madre Mountain. We'll see what happens. But I can tell you, I don't think I'm going to do the circuit today. If I get to the summit of La Madre Mountain, that will be it for the day, and turn around and head back. Okay, there you have it. La Madre Mountain. So close. Let's see if we can get even closer without exposing ourselves to a fall up here, which would be very hard to recover from, because like, who's going to come and find you? Okay, so here we go. Well, if you told me I would be in this spot about told me 10 minutes ago, I would say no, I'm turning around. But it turned out that I was able to weave around and locate a route up. And what you're looking at right here is the summit of La Madre Mountain. There's the summit box ahead of us. Oh, this is way up there. Okay, La Madre Mountain summit after many, many attempts. In just a moment, we'll get a 360-degree view. Oh boy, I feel like I'm on top of the world. Look at this. Okay, summit box, La Madre Mountain summit. Let's put these hiking sticks down. Okay. Now, let's look around. As you can see, the entire Las Vegas Valley from Gas Peak to the north all the way down through the valley there's the strip, still closed due to COVID-19, the worldwide pandemic of 2020. Wow, I can't believe I'm on the summit of La Madre Mountain. A lot of attempts here. Okay, and here you're looking down the Calico Basin. There's Turtle Head Peak. Oh, let's just take a look at some other landmarks on the other side of the strip there. There's the strip again. The other side of the strip, there is Frenchman Mountain. You can see that double hump there. Behind Frenchman Mountain, there's Lake Mead. It's a little bit hazy, but if you look carefully, you can see Lake Mead right in that area. You know, I'm a healthy distance from the edge, but just looking at these edges, oh my gosh, caused my legs to shake. Okay, and there's Red Rock Park, Red Rock Canyon, and Red Rock Park is closed today due to COVID-19. This is the only type of view you're going to see of Red Rock Park. There's El Padre Mountain, and I guarantee I'm not going to go to El Padre today. I'm going to head back the way that I came. And, let's keep on looking here. Bridge Mountain. And then to the left of Bridge Mountain, Rainbow Mountain, you can see the Rainbow Wall Cliff. And then to the left of that, Mount Wilson. And behind those mountains and Indecision Peak to the left of Mount Wilson, those are the Rainbow Mountains. Behind the Rainbow Mountains, you see a ridge system. That ridge system is... Whoops, there we go. Just peeking over the edge of El Padre Mountain, which is in the center here. That ridge system is the Wilson Ridge system. On the other side of that ridge system is Lovell Canyon. And then looking around, there's Griffith Peak. The pointy mountain there, the center, and then to the right and a little lower than Griffith Peak is Harris Mountain. And then you see the south ridge of Kyle Canyon. And then here is Charleston Peak. And then Lee Peak, Mummy Mountain, and in front of Mummy Mountain is Fletcher Peak. And then looking down this direction, you see the entire, well, let's pan out a little bit. You see the entire expanse of Kyle Canyon. And incidentally, we zoom in and we see our point of origin. There's that unpaved road that tees off at Kyle Canyon Road, and a little to the left of that is where the beast is parked. That is going to be one long trip. I'd say that easily we've gone at least 24 miles, maybe. I mean, yeah, let's see. No, I mean up close to 15 miles, and the round trip will be 30 miles, an ultra marathon distance. Let's see, what time is it? It's 12:22. We started out at 5:15, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so about 7 hours. Hopefully we'll be able to make better time on the way back. Let's go ahead and pan around again and not zoom in so you can get the overall view. Sheep Range, Gas Peak, Las Vegas Valley, Centennial Hills, Frenchman Mountain, starting to get a little hazy there, Lake Mead, just behind Frenchman Mountain and to the right, Las Vegas Strip. Not sure what those mountains are in that direction. Probably Sloan Canyon area. And here is Calico Basin. And you see Turtlehead Peak right in the center. So Calico Basin, the Calico Hills, Brownstone Basin there. Okay, Calico Basin, Red Rock Canyon, the Rainbow Mountains, and off the end of Rainbow Mountains, Petoskey Mountain. Over the hump into Pahrump, you go up, I think it's Highway 162, over from Las Vegas into Pahrump. And El Padre Mountain, Wilson Ridge in the background. Keystone Thrust, looking over the backside of the Wilson Ridge is Lovell Canyon. And one of our goals is to go from Lovell Canyon up to Griffith Peak, and you can see the whole ridge system there. Just pan in here. So you see Griffith Peak and the ridge off to the left. That would be the route we take. And you can see there's, we've made it up to somewhere in that area where there's the trees there. But you can see, wow, there's a lot left. I don't know. And Mount Charleston Wilderness, back to Kyle Canyon. And then out 95 toward Reno. So there you have the 360-degree view. And let's get a close-up of the Las Vegas Valley. So what we're going to do is we're going to pan in here. And when we're on Gas Peak, we're looking down into this valley. There's Centennial Hills. And we continue down the valley. Maybe you can recognize your street. If you can, then you probably have the ability to navigate in an airplane and find out where you are. Okay, continuing to focus on the Las Vegas Valley, and the Strip is emerging. There's the Strip. And then down past the Strip to the Henderson area, Sloan Canyon in the background. So there's the close-up of Las Vegas Valley. Okay. Very, very awesome. Let's see. Okay. Yep, we're shaking. I want to plug this phone in because I'm getting battery warnings. There we go. Yep. I want to make sure this video is not lost. Okay. So, anyway, yep. Here's the cliff system between El Padre and La Madre Mountain with the southern approach that we take from the Calico Basin behind Turtle Head Peak there. You can see where, right down in that area is the sandstone parking area. And we head up that canyon. And you see where the canyon takes a dip to our turn toward us. We continue on over that ridge system of Turtle Head Peak into Calico Basin, and then up Calico Basin, and then ascending the cliff system between La Madre and El Padre Mountains. And there is, we've reached right down in this area, we've reached this point. And so we were very close. We might try that again and see if we can finish that section and ascend the southern route. We were right down in this area that you're looking at. Right down there. Very close to the summit. So this gives us hope that yes, we can achieve the summit from the southern approach to, I call this the La Madre Mountain Southern Passage, for lack of a better term. Okay, that pretty much sums up our experience of La Madre Mountain Summit. Exciting, exciting. And very beautiful up here. It's so amazing. You can see this from the Las Vegas Valley. Looks like a brown, barren mountain from Las Vegas Valley. But, you know, take a look at it. We're looking at pines, junipers, and blooming cacti. So it's anything but barren when you're up here. And very wild. Haven't seen another person all day, and I doubt I'm going to see anyone all the way back. And speaking of all the way back, I've got to figure out how to navigate back. That should be a interesting challenge. Okay, so there you have it, La Madre Mountain Summit. Well, we are back on Harris Springs Road. Made it all the way down La Madre Mountain, down a few ridges. A little dicey on those cliffs, but still, we made it. I promised you a little bit about running in high winds. Now, the high winds didn't happen today. I was thinking that those high winds of up to 50 miles an hour would be happening up on La Madre Mountain, but actually, they did not. But here is my high wind strategy. When the wind is very high and I'm on areas near a cliff, I always stay about 6 feet away from the edge. I remember back a number of years ago, I was racing my son and a friend of his up Eureka Dune in Death Valley. And they were looking at me, and they saw that the wind totally blew me off my feet. And they were laughing. So I looked back at them, and sure enough, within just a few minutes, the high winds on Eureka Dune blew them off their feet too. Now, when you're on a sand dune, you can be blown off your feet and it's not too bad. But if you're up on a rocky cliff area and you're blown off your feet, that could be really dangerous. So that's why I stay about 6 feet away from the edge of anything when there's a high wind. And if I'm running against the wind, I turn my cap backwards, otherwise it's going to blow off, and if it blows off and I'm on a cliff, I'm never going to see it again. What else? I loosen myself up and just run kind of like a Raggedy Ann and let the wind blow me around. I don't fight it. I don't resist it. I just let it buffet me around, and I continue in a forward motion. Those are the main things that I do when there's a high wind and you've got gusts up to between 30 and 50 miles an hour, which fortunately we didn't have today. And by the way, let's look back up at La Madre Mountain. There's the Devil's Slide. We were at the top of that, and then we continued on to the summit of La Madre Mountain today. It's a beautiful trip. A lot of ridges to navigate. And it was a kind of a study of whether to be on the right side of the ridge or the left side of the ridge, or right across the top of the ridge. And I must have crossed over ridges 30 times today. But there was always a way. So La Madre Mountain, at least getting up to the summit of La Madre Mountain, that's very doable. I have yet to do the circuit. I think what I'll do in the future is I'll go back up this ridge up to that summit, circle around to the left, and see if I can hit El Padre Mountain. But not anytime soon. This was a very fortunate day. The temperature was about 82 degrees in the valley today, which up at the summit of La Madre Mountain, it was about 55 degrees. So that is about the end of the low temperatures for this spring. We're moving into summer. We've got a couple days coming up this week, 105, 106 degrees. I remember when I moved from Connecticut, and the first time I saw the temperature was going to be over 100 degrees, let alone 110, 115. I thought, this is not survivable. You can't survive this type of temperature. I will be melted like I'm in an oven. But people from Las Vegas, over time, they get used to it. You're not going to go out and play in that temperature, but it's not such a horrible thing. You just don't want to touch the steering wheel of the car if you don't have a steering wheel cover. You don't want to have something in the car that, like, don't leave your phone in the car. It will definitely melt. Don't leave anything in the car that could melt, because temperatures inside the car get up to about 100 and I don't know, 130, 140 degrees. Don't leave your dog in the car. Don't leave your kids in the car. It's definitely life-threatening. But people in Las Vegas, they get used to it and know how to manage those super high temperatures. And in the meantime, what I do during these super high temperatures is I'll be heading up to the Mount Charleston Wilderness, up to 11,000 to 12,000 feet level, where it is about 40 degrees cooler than it is down in the valley. So, in the Las Vegas Valley. So when it is 120 degrees in the Las Vegas Valley on a really hot day, and that's about the most heat that we get, at least that I've experienced. You never know. This coming summer could really blast us, but we just don't know. When it's 120, it's 80 degrees up on Mount Charleston. And if you've been confined to indoors for long periods of time, you get cabin fever. It's really nice to take that Mount Charleston loop during those very hot days and get the experience of being outside and looking all around you, and you can see forever and you're not boiling to pieces. So anyway, yeah, we'll be rising up higher in altitude. Problem is, because of COVID-19, the worldwide pandemic of 2020, Mount Charleston is currently closed. So hoping that it'll be open before too long. Anyway, that's pretty much wraps up the day. I'll take a shot of the beast when we return. I think I'm going to run it in the rest of the way. Nice cool breeze. The last day like this. But here we are, remember, looking from La Madre Mountain down to this road that I mentioned teed off at Kyle Canyon Road. This is Harris Springs Road, and here we are on that road. We're just about 5 minutes from the beast at a walk. I ran down the whole way from the top of the four-wheel drive road, except for that one section where I was doing the video. So I'm pretty much at the end of running for the day. And just to get a look back, we saw this location from La Madre Mountain, and here's La Madre Mountain, Devil's Slide. See, it looks like a snowfield. But you saw what it's made of. Pure granite. So there's La Madre Mountain from the intersection of Harris Springs Road and Kyle Canyon Road. Here we are back at the beast. It's been 12 hours, 25 minutes, and at least 30 miles round trip from this point up to the summit of La Madre Mountain and back. I can do the Charleston Loop in about 7.5 hours, just to give you a comparison. This was 12 hours, 25 minutes, elevation gain of about 5,000 feet. More elevation gain in the Charleston Loop, but everything's trails. This La Madre Mountain, no trails, pretty much piece your way through the wilderness and along ridges, and you can see that ridge system up above Devil's Slide. And then to the left of Devil's Slide up to the summit of La Madre Mountain. Awesome experience today. First time to finally reach the summit of La Madre Mountain. All the way from the intersection of Harris Springs Road and Kyle Canyon Road. And at some point in the future, what I'd like to do is head up to La Madre Mountain from here and then cross over down into Red Rock Canyon. That'd be the Grand Crossing. Not anytime soon because it's getting too hot and Red Rock Canyon is still closed. Probably won't open up until the temperature is about 105 degrees. So that won't happen until next fall. But there you have it, La Madre Mountain Summit.